Spring morning. This time I'd like to call on Ms. Lundy for invocation.
Good morning. Most holy and everlasting Father, it is again that we come to thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us. But most of all, we thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ, who died on the cross for the sins of the world. As we enter our monthly meeting, give us the guidance that we need in order that we may be able to make the right decisions about problems that faces our county. This we ask in the precious name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. At this time, I'll call this meeting to order. Please stand and pledge for allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hope everyone has had a chance to look at our minutes for our March meeting. I'll entertain a motion to, let me back up. Entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
The motion been made. All in favor say aye. Aye. The motion carries. I hope everybody's had a chance to look at the minutes for the March meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Mr. Wilkerson, I believe we have a resolution we'd like to give someone.
Mr. Evans, come to the front, please.
Go back just a little bit.
All right, got a resolution in honor of you today. Quite a lengthy one for such a life as well lives. Y'all will have to bear with me in my reading for this. It'll take a little while. For over 40 years of dedicated service to the Mecklenburg County Board of Zoning Appeals. Whereas Mr. John Evans of Southfield, Virginia, has selflessly served the citizens of Mecklenburg County for over 40 years as a dedicated member of the Mecklenburg County Board of Zoning Appeals, having joined the board in 1985. Whereas Mr. Evans is a graduate of the College of William and Mary, class of 1962, and a proud veteran of the United States Army, where he served with distinction as a tank platoon leader, 4.2-inch mortar platoon leader, and later as a Davy Crockett tactical nuclear weapons platoon leader in the 72nd Army of the 2nd Infantry Division at Fort Benning, Georgia. Whereas, following his military service, Mr. Evans returned to Virginia and worked as a cameraman for Channel 12 before moving to Southfield in 1965, where he began a long career with Citizens Bank and married the love of his life, Patricia Otter, a dedicated educator who taught in Mecklenburg County Public Schools for 35 years. Whereas, in 1971, Mr. Evans survived a harrowing armed robbery and hostage situation, during which over 20 rounds were exchanged between police and suspects in a high-speed pursuit that ended in lacrosse, an event that revealed both his calm under pressure and his courage. Whereas, throughout his tenure on the Board of Zoning Appeals, Mr. Evans has been a steadfast advocate for balanced growth and responsible land use, offering thoughtful, principled guidance shaped by decades of community insight and personal integrity. Whereas he has remained active in civic life beyond the boardroom, contributing generously to the Southfield Rotary Club and local volunteer efforts, while also being admired for his craftsmanship as a talented woodworker, sharing his skills and creativity with neighbors and friends. And whereas Mr. Evans' life of service to his country, his community, and his family reflects a rare and inspiring commitment to the common good and has left an enduring mark on Mecklenburg County. Now, therefore be it resolved that the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors does hereby express its profound gratitude and deep appreciation to Mr. John Evans for his extraordinary service, leadership, and lasting dedication to Mecklenburg County and its citizens. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkerson. Congratulations, Mr. Evans. Well deserved. Mr. Hendrick, we're going to move on to zoning.
The first application we have is the application request by Michael Overby for a special exception for a second home on the same piece of property. This property identified as partial record number 9072 and county tax number 143000-A-013. His own is agriculture, is located on the east side of Duke Drive and is approximately 632 feet south of his intersection of Route 601, Lovetown Road. Election District 9, County of Mecklenburg, reference D Book LR-5-1960. Since the Planning Commission hearing, I have received 2 letters opposing the application, and at the Planning Commission meeting, the members voted unanimously to approve the application.
Okay. Anyone here wishing to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing no, oh, go ahead.
You this right here, I'm sorry. But, you know, I'm not gonna put up a trailer park or nothing like that. It's gonna be a nice stick-built home. And I own the land just about all the way around it. And you know, I don't want no junk over there. What I build is gonna be nice. It's not gonna be just something out of the ordinary. And I think that the people that sent the letters, they're not even adjoining to the property. They over 600 yards through the woods from me. I don't know why they had a problem with what was going on over there, but I just wanted to make aware that, you know, I'm not opening up a shabby place over there, nothing like that, because I'm the type of person, when I build something, it's going to be right. And I just want to make everybody aware of that.
All right, thank you. We'll now open the public hearing on this application. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing no one, we'll close the public hearing. The wishes of District 9.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to accept this special exemption permit application based on the Planning Commission recommendation.
Okay, y'all have heard the motion. All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Hendrick?
You have an application by Woody Carter Moore for a special exception permit for a second home on the property. This property identified as partial record number 7704 and county tax number 053000-A-007 is zoned agricultural and located on the south side of 671 Country Club Drive and is approximately 1.5 miles southeast of his intersection with Route 660 Old Cox Road. Election District 7, County of Mecklenburg, reference D Book LR-24-5014 and Wheel Book WF-22-571. And at the Planning Commission meeting, they unanimously voted to approve.
Okay.
With conditions.
Anyone wishing to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing no one, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak in the public hearing? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. That is my district. I make a motion to approve the application. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Mr. Hendrick?
You have an application by Brian Upton for a special exception permit to construct 2 recreational vehicle sites. This property is identified as county tax number 136000-A-059. Partial record number 19422 is zoned agricultural. Is located on the west side of Highway 1 at its intersection with Davis and Jones Place. Election District 1, County of Mecklenburg, reference D Book B&P-594-514. Again, the Planning Commission recommended unanimously to approve.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing no one, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. Wishes of Election District 1.
I motion that we receive special exception permit based on the Planning Commission recommendations.
All right, everyone's heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? And the motion carries.
You have an application by Matthew and Raven Chumney to rezone from agricultural to residential. This property identified as county tax number 13000-01-001, partial record number 36568 is zoned as agriculture, is located on the east side of Route 634 Traffic Road and is approximately half a mile north of its intersection, Route 745 Twin Peaks Road. Election District 7, County of Mecklenburg,
reference D book LR 24-559, and wheel book WF 20-59. Again, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended to approve the application.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing no one, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing no one, I close the public hearing. That again is my district. I'll make a motion to approve based on the recommendation of the Planning Commission. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? The motion carries.
You have an application by Albert and Audrey Dudley for a special exception for a sorting recycle site. This project will be located in Mecklenburg County, tax number 128000-A-081A, and partial record number 4166, is zoned agricultural, located on the south side of Highway 58 and is 2 miles west of its intersection Route 693 Rogers Road. This property is located in Election District 8, County of Mecklenburg, reference deed book LR-24-490, and again, the Planning Commission unanimously recommended to approve.
Okay, anyone wishing to speak on behalf of the application? Hearing no one, I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak? Hearing no one, I'll close the public hearing. What are the wishes of District 8?
Mr. Chairman, I ask that we approve this application based on the Planning Commission's recommendation.
Everyone's heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, motion carries. Mr. Hendrick.
Okay, the next one is proposed amendments to Article 20 solar facilities of the Mecklenburg County zoning ordinance to remove utility scale solar facilities as a permitted use in any zoning district in the county with or without a special exception permit. But which proposed amendments will provide that special exception permit applications for utility scale solar facilities that have been submitted to Mecklenburg County zoning office before March 10th, 2025 would not be subject to the proposed amendments and would be allowed to move forward in conclusion under the current Mecklenburg County zoning ordinance. Providing concerning utility scale solar facilities, the proposed amendments have been initiated by a resolution adopted by the Mecklenburg County Board of Supervisors on March 10th, 2025. And again, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to remove large-scale solar from the zoning orders. And I think
Mr. Slayton, you want to give us a little background here?
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to. On March 10, the board, you folks, adopted an initiating resolution, the purpose of which was to get to begin the process for review of Article 20, which addresses solar. The initiating resolution were instructions from you to the Planning Commission of what you wanted considered. And as Robert said, one of the primary thing you wanted considered was action which would remove utility scale solar as a permitted use anywhere in the county with or without a special exception permit. There was also thought given by you as to the fairness. Two applicants had submitted SCP applications, and they it require a fair amount of time and expense and effort to get those in. So you folks directed the Planning Commission to let you know if they thought, or they would recommend to you, that those two projects be grandfathered, and that means allowed to complete the zoning process. Doesn't mean approved. It means they would get to apply, they'd have a public hearing, they may get approved, they may not. So those were the two you sent back to the Planning Commission, and if I remember correctly, was 7 Bridges Solar and Finneywood. The Planning Commission on March 27 held its public hearing, and at the conclusion of that public hearing, they expanded on what you told them to do, and they asked that you also grandfather Antlers Road or the RWE project, and I wasn't there, but I assume their thinking was that that entity had a 2232 review begun, and they thought that they should be treated the same as you, I suppose. Maybe Robert can help me. So you have a whole lot of options, but I think realistically there are three. One is you can adopt the ordinance amendment, which would, as has been said several times, remove utility scale solar as a permitted use in Mecklenburg County. You can add to that grandfathering status for the two projects, Finneywood and 7 Bridges Solar. And your third option is to add to that 3 exceptions or 3 grandfathers, the last one being the RWE project. I have resolutions for all three. If you come up with a fourth or fifth, I'll amend what I have.
Okay. Alex, you want to elaborate? Okay. I would say this probably needs a little discussion from the board here.
Yeah, and I'm assuming the Article 20 you sent us would be how it would read after we adopt this.
How would it read? Were you not provided it?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying, is what we were provided, how it was would read.
Yes.
Because I just had a couple questions on it, and I know in the very last statement, it says maximum acreage for solar facilities, no more than 2,325 acres in Mecklenburg County shall be approved for use as a fenced-in area of community scale, utility scale, medium scale, or small scale solar sites. Is a residential solar panels that somebody adds at their residence, I know that falls under small scale, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so also too, if we were to get to a limit, if we say we approve these 3 sites that we possibly could add to this, would it affect us down the road as far as being able to allow people to put solar panels at their house? In other words, if these 3 projects take us to this 2,325 acres, would that preclude anybody else from ever doing it in a residential setting?
Okay, let me answer it this way. First of all, you can't get all 3 in under your acreage.
Okay.
And if any 2 of them get approved, that's the end of it. And there's not room for 3. And I think the answer to your question is no. But if, well, I will look into that. If that is a problem and leads to a result the board doesn't like, we'll amend the ordinance.
Okay.
No, we won't let that happen. If the
Yeah,
board
because I think too, when we talk about the ordinance, the way I interpret it and the way I read it too, it says that small scale or medium scale facilities, which would cover residential solar,
Right.
have to follow some of the same decommissioning rules as utility scale and everything else.
But I would point out to you that this ordinance affects utility scale solar only.
Right.
It does not implement any change in what you have on the book.
Sure. Yeah, and I'm just saying,
Yeah.
down the road, we need to make sure if we move in this direction that we clarify some of the other things that are on here.
You're right, Mr. Tanner, and if you get to that point and find it needs clarification, you can amend your ordinance anytime you need to.
Okay. Yeah, and on the other side, I just want to make sure that the 3 that are currently in the process do have the right to move forward, and I think.
One of your 3 options.
That's one of the 3 options.
Sure, that's one.
Robert, me and you talked a little bit. Do we need to do something different with this Article 20, you think? I mean,
Well, if you want community scale solar and the minimum acreage taken out and large scale solar, and the best thing to do is, my opinion, is repeal this Article 20 completely and address everybody's concern with a new Article 20, which would remove all of this and only allow for residential, agricultural, industrial, and business. Small scale, which is up to an acre. Medium scale would be for the same type of districts, except it would be up to 5 acres. That they would have to get an SCP, but for the residential small scale under an acre, they would not have to. And the only ones that would be doing the decommission part of it would be in industrial and business under your medium scale, which is up to 5 acres. It also allows for rooftop solar mounting and parking lot. But it takes out all this other stuff. I don't know which way y'all want to go with it.
yeah, well, I mean, if we do what you just said, do we need to vote on this today, what we're doing here, and go forward, or should we hold off? I mean, what you're thinking, Russ?
And Mr. Brankley, when this started, the board was concerned with utility scale solar. That's what this addresses. And so if you want to remove utility scale solar, you can adopt this today. And as I said in response to Mr. Tanner, if there are other tweaks that you want to make to your ordinance, we can do that. We don't have to do it all in one package. So you can address utility scale today, and anything else that concerns you, we can address later.
So we can vote on this today, what we got here, and then repeal and maybe, down the road.
To that point, evaluation of this ordinance as it either exists today or as it may exist later today would inherently be part of the zoning ordinance revision project anyway. So it will be evaluated over the next year and be part of the overall package of revised zoning ordinance that would come forth about a year from this date today. So this process will occur anyway.
Right, okay.
Okay, what are the wishes of the board?
We're gonna let all three have an opportunity, is that correct? I mean, what do y'all think?
In my opinion, that would be, if they're the ones that are currently have applications in the queue, I think we at least owe it to them to be able to complete the process.
Well, then my question too would be that if we got 7 bridges in the line and then the Finneywood project, Antlers Road is coming to the planning commission the end of this month, do they have an opportunity to move ahead or of one of the other two?
That's up to you, Mr. Brankley. It's one of your 3 options. You can approve the 2 that you mentioned, or you can grandfather all 3. It's totally up to you.
And just to be clear, the 3 projects are at different stages.
Yeah.
While all have some form of submittal in front of the county, they are not all aligned at the same stage of the process, of the overall solar evaluation process.
The RWE project is very preliminary. It's just 2230. No SCP application has been filed. I don't mean that as criticism. I'm just trying, like Alex, to distinguish the 2 of them from the 3rd of them. But the Planning Commission, and I gather Mr. Brankley, feels that it would be equitable to let all 3, which have some application before the county, allowed it to go through the entire process, which, again, does not mean approval, just means review and action.
Right.
For those 3 only.
Huh?
For those 3 only.
Yep.
Correct.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure how to word this thing.
Well, we've got a resolution.
He's got one for you. He's got it worded for you.
Yeah. We do 2 things. The resolution's fairly long. I'll be happy to read it. But if the resolution, this one, if you adopt it, the effect will be no more utility scale solar in Mecklenburg County anywhere, and 3 projects that are currently have, as Alex said, at some state of application would be allowed to continue forward until completion. Finneywood, Antlers Road, 7 Bridges Solar. And if that's one action that you want to take, I've got a resolution written out. Again, I'll be happy to read it. It's kind of long, but if that's what it accomplishes, and I think that's what's it. Does that help?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You want to read it, David?
No, Russell, you gonna read it, Russell?
I'll do whatever you say. Is that what you just said?
I'm good with that.
That's what he insinuated.
Sure. Okay, let me find it and then I'll read it. Let's see. Got a fair amount of paper here today. Okay, this is 3 projects. Here we go. Now, let me warn you, this will take a while.
Do we
And
need
I
to
will
read
do
it?
my darndest to read it.
Do we have to read it?
Do we, yeah, do we
Do
have to read
we
it?
have to read it?
Oh, no, I do not.
That's what he was trying to tell you.
Yeah, yeah, oh, no.
The staff would recommend, and I'm being serious, is worded carefully because there could be litigation in the future, and you want your reasoning and your rationale to be part of the record. This resolution does that. What it substantively does is removes utility scale solar from the books again, and allow all 3 projects to go forward to conclusion again. And if you want me to read it, I will, but that's what it does.
No,
I make a motion, we accept what Russell just said.
Yeah.
all right, let's do a roll call vote on that. Okay.
Mr. James,
Yes.
Mr. Hartgrove,
Yes.
Mrs. Lundy,
Yes.
Mr. Brankley,
Yes.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
Mr. Tanner,
Yes.
Mr. Gravitt,
Yes.
Mr. Spence,
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries. That's all we have on that matter. Thank you, Ms. Hendrick.
Yes, sir.
And Tina Morgan had a tourism update.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Today, I'll be giving you an update on the pulse of our county's tourism industry, a vital part of our economy and of our communities. We'll be diving into the latest data, and I'll also explore some exciting developments and upcoming events. I have a lot to share, so let's get started. Each year, I report the latest visitor data according to Virginia Tourism, and today we'll be looking at 2023. According to VTC, in 2023, visitor spending in Mecklenburg County reached $115 million. This is an all-time high for us once again here in Mecklenburg. Tourism supported 1,120 jobs, and state and local tax revenue reached $6.6 million, a 10% increase. These numbers represent continued growth for Mecklenburg and solidify our efforts to make Mecklenburg a major tourism destination in Southern Virginia. From $78.4 million in 2019 to $115 million in 2023, our 5-year history reflects a whopping 46% increase in visitor spending. Compared to our neighbors here in Southern Virginia, visitor spending is more than double that of any other locality in Southern Virginia except for Danville. And let's just be honest, we'll never catch up with Danville again. In 2023, visitation to our campgrounds increased by an average of 8%, with a total of 172,000 visitors staying at least one night. There's a publication, it's called the Virginia Campground Directory, and I received that, and you open it up, and you look at the state of Virginia, and the center of it is empty. Mecklenburg isn't shown in there. So I called the publishers, and I'm like, how do we get in this magazine? And, you know, I found out it's a pay-to-play kind of deal. So I called the Corps of Engineers and asked them, you know, I said, I don't know what your marketing budget is like, but, you know, have you considered being in this Virginia directory? And they said, well, we don't have very much of one, but I'll be honest, we don't have to advertise. We are booked solid every season. And that, to me, speaks volumes. Of course, I still want us to be in that magazine just because, but. And our friends over at the Corps of Engineers who manage our parks and recreation areas counted over 319,000 vehicles entering their facilities during the 2023 season. Every year I've had the great pleasure of sharing this positive growth in Mecklenburg of our tourism economy. And up until now, our tourism story was built around one primary data source, the numbers from Virginia Tourism. Their economic impact numbers is what I get every year. And the local data we get from the Corps of Engineers. And that's still a critical foundation. But this year we have new tools, new data, and new insights to help us tell a much deeper and more actionable story. Thanks to a grant awarded to us by VTC, we now have access to a more granular level of visitor data than we've ever seen. Arrivalist is a company that uses mobile location data to track visitor behavior. And thanks to the fact that most of us carry these little tracking devices with us everywhere we go, we can now learn more about our visitors. We can now see things like how long people stay and what towns they visit and where they come from. You can think of Arrivalist like a traffic helicopter, but instead of watching cars on the highway, they're watching where phones go. It can tell which phones are commuting and which phones are touring by seeing where they start, where they go, and where they sleep at night. This new tool doesn't track every visitor, only the ones who have location data turned on their phones. This is our first full year using this platform, and it's already changed how I understand tourism in the county. A little hard to read because it's a lot of data here, but this chart shows the 2023 travel data for 5 of our towns: Clarksville, Chase City, Boynton, La Crosse, and South Hill. This comes from Arrivalist. What's powerful here is that I can instantly see that in 2023, Clarksville drew the most visitors. I can see that Chase City is clearly a day trip destination in the fall. We can be that specific now. South Hill continues to be our anchor lodging market in the county. La Crosse, surprisingly, has an unexpected number of, has an overnight visit share. We all know La Crosse doesn't have lodging. But what this demonstrates is that Arrivalist doesn't just track hotel guests. It tracks where the visitor's phone stays overnight. So they could be in a hotel, they could be in a campground, they could be staying with family, they could be sleeping in the car. We can't tell that much. I'm not suggesting that. So this data, it can reflect that we may have a lot of visitors who have family in La Crosse, or they may be spending an extended amount of time on the trail, or maybe at Rosemont before staying nearby in South Hill. But this is just really interesting to look at. And I can now combine Arrivalist data and VTC spending averages and estimate that Mecklenburg County welcomed around 270,000 unique visitors in 2023. We've never been able to know that. I can tell you those visitors generated nearly 400,000 trip experiences across our towns, and they weren't just passing through. Over 2/3 stayed overnight. We can tell from this data that visitors are staying an average of 1.9 nights, and that is a strong sign that we're seen as a weekend getaway, not just a stop through. This also identifies an opportunity to encourage visitors to stay a little longer by building campaigns that promote multi-day itineraries and bundled experiences. One of the most valuable things Arrivalist has shown us is where our visitors are coming from. This kind of insight lets us better target our advertising and tailor our messaging. Raleigh-Durham is the #1 market countywide and the top feeder for Clarksville, Boynton, La Crosse, and South Hill. Richmond-Petersburg is the top drive market for Chase City and consistently ranks in the top 3 for the rest of the county. Roanoke, Lynchburg, and Greensboro-High Point also appear consistently in the top 3 for our smaller towns. This tells us that our most loyal visitors are within 2 to 3 hours drive, and they're close enough for a day trip, but engaged enough to stay overnight. I've only shared a fraction of this new information. I'm still collecting it all and understanding it all. It's all brand new, but it's very exciting. But having this new data has really opened up a new window for me. The more I know about our visitors, the more I can develop meaningful and effective marketing strategies. Knowing how they move around the county creates the opportunity to build on our strengths and improve on our weaknesses. My marketing strategy includes advertising Mecklenburg in several top magazines that reach our top drive markets, including all those I named earlier. And I continue to deliver a constant stream of digital advertising through social media and top search engines. Something new I'll be launching this year is ad placement on connected TV. I'm currently working with a videographer to produce content, and by the end of the summer, Mecklenburg will have a collection of short commercials running on popular streaming TV platforms. Of course, all of this advertising is designed to influence people to visit our website and plan a trip. Also under construction is our website. I'm currently working on a redesign. The site's 5 years old and it needs a redesign. The current layout is organized primarily by town, but through Arrivalist data and visitor feedback, it's clear that people don't plan trips based on town names. They come for experiences. The new website will shift focus to highlight what visitors want to do rather than where those things are located. This shift will make it easier for potential visitors to find what interests them, stay longer, and explore more of the county as a whole. You all received a copy of our brand new visitors guides today. Literally just arrived by freight Friday. I designed this guide myself. It is completely ad-free, and it gets updated every other year. The last time I ordered these, I ordered 10,000 copies. This time I ordered 17,000 copies, and that order came purely out of demand. I get requests nearly on a weekly or monthly basis for these guides. So our order nearly doubled. I think that's a real testament to the interest in Mecklenburg as a destination. Guides will be distributed to over 70 locations this year, including 3 Virginia Welcome Centers, and I'd like to request a box truck at this time. This is my car. As you know, I serve and represent the county on several local and regional boards, and I have a couple of updates from 2 of these organizations to share with you today. The Roanoke River Rails to Trails, or Tobacco Heritage Trail, meets quarterly and has become a very well-organized outfit with the help of the SPDC. Meetings are well attended by 15 localities. Last summer, the Commonwealth Transportation Board met and identified several priority trails across the state. The Skipwith Road to Rudd's Creek section of undeveloped Tobacco Heritage Trail was identified as one of these priority segments. The board proceeded to commit 100% funding towards the design and construction of this trail, 100%. The project was assigned to VDOT, and preliminary engineering activities are taking place now. VDOT is working to finalize the preliminary field inspection and public involvement plans while also preparing for project scoping activities. The actual bid date for the project is currently penciled in for June 2027 with an award date of fall 2027. This is a 2-mile segment of trail. It's a significant amount of finished trail on the ground that will add to our trail assets here in the county. It's great news for the Tobacco Heritage Trail to now be recognized and supported by the Commonwealth, and it's great news for Mecklenburg County. We anticipate having a better idea of the final project timeline by June of this year. Southern Virginia Wild Blueway. What began as a local idea supported by Halifax and Mecklenburg counties is now gaining serious regional momentum. Last summer, Sarah Capps with the Tobacco Commission initiated discussions about the long-term potential of the Blueway. By July, the Dan River Basin Association was selected to lead a study for the project. They submitted a regional grant request, and by September, the Tobacco Commission awarded $107,000 to fund the creation of a Southern Virginia Blueways master plan. The Dan River Basin Association is now managing an 18-month planning process across 9 counties, including Mecklenburg. The project will have a full inventory of river and lake access points, a 5-year regional strategy for signage, infrastructure, and marketing, recommendations for management, sustainability, and future funding, and the development of a system-wide website and economic impact baseline. I was selected to serve on the steering committee, and I'll make sure Mecklenburg's assets and needs are represented throughout the process. One of the most exciting parts of this initiative, it was once just supported by Halifax and Mecklenburg, and we were cobbling together budget money to do a little bit of marketing. But this is going to grow the Blueway footprint. The master plan will explore expansion opportunities into new counties and new water access locations. It includes sites that could be added in the future as a Phase 2 build-out, extending the Blueway beyond the current rivers and shoreline system. This effort sets the stage to connect even more counties and assets, establishing a truly regional and highly marketable water trail system. We have some new attractions in the county. Clarksville has a new outdoor laser tag arena, if you didn't know. Did you know there's a mini golf course just right across 58 here at KC Farms Forest Kids? South Hill has expanded their playground area in Centennial Park and added a brand new and first in the county dog park. As many of you know, last year we built a mural trail. This was a county-funded project, and each one of our towns here got a brand new mural installation, which together formed our first mural trail and a new way to get visitors moving around the whole county. About this time last year, we were running around to all the sites and cutting ribbons on each and every one of them. To promote the trail, I launched a digital passport. Every mural has a story. And with the scan of a QR code that's installed at each location, you can learn the story of the mural you're standing in front of, and then you can be guided to the rest of them around the county. Participation in the passport has been phenomenal, And it's just a really fun way to explore the county. If you haven't had a chance to explore them all, I invite you to do so. To celebrate all the wonderful makers in our area, we also introduced a craft beverage trail. This project is a collaboration with Halifax County to feature all of our craft beverage venues 2 counties wide. This tour is also set up as a digital passport. It has 11 venues. Visitors collect digital stamps on their passport, and they can win a $25 credit to their favorite venue. As an added bonus feature, out of a partnership between the town of Clarksville and Halifax, during the warm months, there's a Friday shuttle that takes small groups to the stops in Clarksville and South Boston. That option is also highly popular. You'll be able to find all these new tours and activities on our website at Visit McVA. Thanks to the Friends of Occoneechee State Park group, plans are in motion to build out an 18-hole disc golf course in the park this year, along with an ADA accessible fishing pier. When completed, this will be our second disc golf course in the county. North Bend currently has a 9-hole course. This new addition can position us to host larger tournaments and attract serious players, increasing overnight stays and local spending. Disc golf has a big following, and serious players will gladly travel to a good course or a place with multiple courses. And speaking of tournaments, in just 2 short weeks, we will be hosting our largest fishing tournament to date. The Bassmasters are bringing their college, high school, and junior series to fish the entire week at Occoneechee State Park. The college series will roll in at the beginning of the week with 225 boats. High school will close out the week with 250 boats. These are all 2-man teams, and the high school has a boat captain added, so those are 3-mans. So during the course of this week, we'll have about 1,200 anglers fishing Bugs Island Lake out of Occoneechee State Park. When you factor in family, friends, spectators, media, we could be looking at around 2,000 extra people flooding into our towns and spending money. We're leading teams to book rooms in Clarksville and South Hill, and we're already seeing evidence of that. I've notified our small businesses and restaurants to expect and prepare for an increase in traffic. We'll be holding registrations here in Boynton to hopefully bring some of those folks out here to support the restaurants. I've talked about the impact of these kinds of tournaments before, but just to bring this home again, with conservative estimates for hotel nights, meals, fuels, and miscellaneous expenses, we could be looking at a direct impact of $1.1 million. This is direct spending without multipliers. This is evidenced. I got this data from the organizers of Bassmaster. These are real numbers. The county's investment is around $30K. Hosting a tournament this size requires a great deal of coordination. I'm excited to receive the Bassmasters, and if you have a chance, I encourage you to come by for one of the weigh-ins at Occoneechee. You'll see how excited they are to be here. And with that, I'll let you get on to the rest of your agenda. Please be sure to check out all the events going on in the county, including monthly live music events starting up in May. I just added over 100 to our Facebook page. I'm proud to say we have something going on in every town nearly every weekend throughout the whole summer. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Tina. Looks like y'all been pretty busy.
Yes, sir. We've been busy.
Wow, what a great job.
Thank you.
Anyone have any questions?
Oh, you folks were staying in La Crosse, you just didn't realize.
Yeah.
You're right.
They stay at your house.
Now, it's actually funny because the zip code of La Crosse takes in the hotels behind people's corporate office and the ones out at Love's Truck Stop. So we're kind of pulling. It looks like they're in La Crosse, but they're really somewhere else.
So the zip code's working for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely a wonderful presentation, Tina, and greatly appreciate the hard work you do. Kevin, we're kind of working you over this morning, aren't we?
All right, y'all should have got our board update in your monthly board package. Just kind of been doing pothole patching, ditching maintenance, and doing some road surface repairs. Since the last meeting, the intersection up there at Clarksville at the Uppies, I call Uppies, at that interchange right there, we were able to put in some advanced warning rumble strips coming off 15. Hopefully that will slow some people down or get their attention. And we also put some paint lines in there to guide people when they're turning left to come on 58. Hopefully that will put them in the right opening to access 58. Route 671, this is Country Club Drive. That was closed on April 7th for some bridge repairs. This is between Draper Road and Old Cox Road. Road scheduled to be reopened in early May. Also, since the last meeting, we was able to turn our litter contractors loose to pick up trash. In Mecklenburg County, they picked up all the primary routes and Route 903. They collected 2,175 bags. We also have been using our inmate labor for some spot litters on secondary roads. We were able to pick up Widows Mill Road, Country Club Road, and Height Drive. That's all I've got, unless y'all have got anything else, questions?
Anyone have anything they'd like to ask Kevin?
All right.
Okay. Alex, we got anybody that would like to speak this morning?
We got two other items under VDOT.
Oh,
We got
well, that's
two
right, we
road
do.
abandonments.
I'm sorry. The road abandonment, you can take that?
Sure. So we got a request from VDOT to abandon two roads. Generally, what happens when we have a road abandonment is it becomes either a former public road that is no longer for a public purpose, and that could be either because we have an institutional facility that is not on that site anymore, or it's because the road has pretty much been determined that it serves only one particular user and therefore does not qualify as public. And but we have an example of each of those this particular time. The first one we have is Parkview Circle. Of course, that was the site of Parkview High School. This is the portion of the road that loops in front of the school. So it's the entrance that's furthest down if you're coming on 58 towards Boyden. It's from that, goes up the hill, goes in front of the school, goes in front of the gym, and then goes back to where it intersects with Parkview Drive. That's the part that's going to be abandoned. So the entrance where the flashing light is, that will remain a public road, as will all of Parkview Drive all the way back to the back end of the property. But the abandonment request was for the portion that would have served the immediate school-related facility rather than the actual traffic that goes through the site to go from one public road to another public road. So that's the first one, and we'll need to adopt a resolution in your packet that would declare it no longer needed and that it is suitable for Mecklenburg County to request that it be abandoned from the secondary system.
Okay, so we'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
The motion's been made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed? The motion carries. And we got another one too.
Yes, and so the second abandonment comes into this circumstance wherein we had a road that was once public that now is serving only one particular user and therefore does not constitute public use any longer, and that one is Herbert Drive. This is the segment of Herbert Drive that was the industrial access road for what used to be the Boyden Plank road site and has since become Herbert Drive. Herbert Drive now actually goes across 58 and has both sides because Prison Road got renamed Herbert Drive. This is just the portion of the road that was the industrial access into that site. So if you're going from Boyden towards South Hill, it's the one that's on this side of the road, and it ends in the traffic circle cul-de-sac before the business that is located there. So we need the same action to abandon the road and recommend that it be removed from the secondary road. Once a road is removed, all responsibility for upkeep and maintenance of that road devolves to the private road user.
Okay, that is in my district. I will make a motion to adopt that resolution to abandon Herbert Drive. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
Okay. We have one speaker who's signed up for public comment today, and that is Arlene Logan.
I would like to remind everyone that we've got 3 minutes to speak.
I should get it done.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
I'm Arlene Logan. I've lived in Palmer Springs for 33 years. I'd like to thank the board for letting me address you today. Recently, Microsoft sent me an invitation to an open house. In this invitation, they wrote that in 2023, they contributed $23 million in property taxes, which was 24% of Mecklenburg County's property taxes. Since 23, they purchased and upgraded more properties in our county, resulting in paying higher taxes. Microsoft says they're committed to expand opportunities to all. Since I'm 82 years old and disabled, there's no way I could work for them and benefit. Because Microsoft is paying a large percentage of our property taxes, the assistance I'm hoping to get is a decrease in property taxes. In 22, I paid $13.38. In 23, I paid $13.38. In 24, I paid $13.32.84. This after the assessed value was lowered. I received a tax decrease that year of $5.16. Much publicity was given to our taxes going down, and it appeared in our local paper, The Enterprise. Mecklenburg County does provide me with police protection. Palmer Springs Fire Department protects me from fires. The county does trim the grass on the edge of my property. They do fix potholes on rough road. For many years, they haven't done much, but just Thursday last week, they patched a lot of potholes. Aside from the newer South Hill Elementary, our other elementary schools are 40 years old and not wired for modern technology. They need to be replaced. By law, since 1999, all Virginia lottery profits are used for kindergarten through 12th grade education. Governor Youngkin said in 2024, lottery profits were $934 million. Lottery funds are not the only financial support we get from our state. In the last few years, inflation has gone sky high. I'm living on Social Security, and my last two increases were 3.2% and 2.5%, totaling an increase for 2 years of 5.7%. This does not cover my cost of living. Last year, my homeowners went up 20%. In 2024, food prices went up 23%, and they went up the previous 2 years also. People are wondering if they can afford to buy a dozen eggs. Ground beef is $4, bread is $3. Today, a $20 bill spends like a $5 bill in its purchasing power. Because of economy pressures mentioned above, I'm requesting a reasonable cut in our property taxes. People on Facebook in South Hill are also questioning why, with financial assistance from Microsoft and the lottery, we can't decrease our property taxes. We desperately need this now, and it would benefit the citizens greatly. If this is a temporary impossibility, can you at least help the most in need by lowering the property taxes of the elderly, the disabled, and veterans? You are our governing body, and you have the power and the right and the responsibility to help others and make life better for our citizens. A tax cut would do this. Thank you for your time. And I'd like to leave Andy Hargrove a copy of this. Would you pass it in? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Lundy, I believe you were up next with the Personnel Committee.
Okay, thank you. A meeting of the Personnel Committee was held in and for the County of Mecklenburg on March the 27th, 2025 at 5:00 p.m. in the Board of Supervisors meeting room of the Good Bank Building. Members present: Brenda Blackwell, a chair, Claudia Lundy, Sterling Wilkerson, and Tom Tanner. Also present: David Brinkley, supervisor, Alex Gauchow, county administrator, Judy Sheffield, assistant county administrator, Robert Hendricks, zoning administrator. Upon motion of Tom Tanner, the board voted unanimously to convene closed session. Number 22-3711A1 of the Code of Virginia. Discussion, consideration, or interviews of the prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees or employees of any public body. Brenda Blackwell, Claudia Lundy, Sterling Wilkerson, Tom Tanner voted aye. Upon a motion of Sterling Wilkerson, the board voted unanimously to convene open session. Brenda Blackwell, Claudia Lundy, Sterling Wilkerson, Tom Tanner voted aye. Upon motion of Claudia Lundy, the board voted unanimously to adopt certification resolution. Brenda Blackwell, Claudia Lundy, Sterling Wilkerson, Tom Tanner voted aye. Upon a motion of Tom Tanner, the committee voted unanimously to offer the position of planning administrator / principal planner to Mr. Lucky Carson with an effective start date of May the 1st, 2025. Brenda Blackwell, Claudia Lundy, Sterling Wilkerson, Tom Tanner voted aye. Additionally, although not eligible to vote, David Brinkley indicated his support for this action. There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned. I would like to put this into a motion that this board will go on record for hiring Mr. Lucky Carson for the position of planning administrator / principal planner for Mecklenburg County.
Okay, everyone's heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
That's all.
Lundy. Mr. Tanner, Economic Development.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Economic Development Committee met on Monday, April 14th at 8 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors meeting room, Boynton, Virginia. Members present: Tom Tanner, Chairman; David Brinkley, Dennis Spence, and Sterling Wilkerson. Others present: Jim Jennings, Andy Hargrove, Kirk Gravitt, Alex Gottschalk, County Administrator; Angie Kelly, Economic Development Director; Judy Sheffield, Assistant County Administrator; Jenny Whittemore, Clerk. Chairman called the meeting to order. Mr. Gottschalk reviewed the bid received for the Bailey Campus Booster Station. The lowest bid was received from Waco Incorporated at a cost of $4,018,927. Upon a motion of Mr. Brinkley, the committee voted unanimously to recommend the acceptance of this bid from Waco in the amount of $4,018,927 for the Bailey Campus Booster Station. Supervisors Tanner, Brinkley, Wilkerson, and Spence voted aye. Mr. Chairman, I'll pause there to make a motion that we approve this bid from Waco Incorporated for $4,018,927 for the Bailey Campus Booster Station.
Okay, everyone's heard the motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion carries. Okay.
All
Mr.
right.
Tanner.
Next, the committee discussed the creation of the Route 58 Activation Corridor Regional Industrial Facility Authority, a RIFA, with the town of South Hill. Upon a motion of Mr. Spence, the committee voted unanimously to recommend the adoption of the attached ordinance to the Board of Supervisors to approve the creation of the Route 58 Activation Corridor Regional Industrial Facility Authority. Supervisors Tanner, Brinkley, Wilkerson, and Spence voted aye. Mr. Chairman, I'll pause there to make a motion that we move forward with the adoption of this ordinance to create this RIFA. I'm not reading it again.
Okay. No, I don't blame you one bit. Everyone's heard the motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
There being no further business, the meeting was adjourned.
All right, thank you, Mr. Tanner. Mr. Gravitt, secondary roads.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Secondary Roads Committee met on Monday, April 14th, 2025 at 8:30 a.m. in the Board of Supervisors Meeting Room, Boydton, Virginia. Members present: Kirk Gravitt, Chairman; Sterling Wilkerson; David Brinkley; Andy Hargrove. Others present: Jim Jennings, Dennis Spence, Claudia Lundy, Tom Tanner, Alex Gottschalk, County Administrator; Judy Sheffield, Assistant County Administrator; Jenny Whittemore, Clerk; Tommy Johnson, VDOT Resident Engineer; and Kevin Smith, Assistant Resident Engineer. Chairman Gravitt called the meeting to order. Mr. Smith advised the committee that the funding for the 6-year plan was $498,000, which is a maximum of 2.1 miles. The committee discussed the current plan as follows: Hayes Mill Road 2025, Lone Oak Road 2026, Bowers Road 2027, Twin Cedar Road 2028, Lambert Road 2029, Wilson Newton Road 2029, Henrico Road 2029, Luck Circle 2029, Willards Mill Road 2030, Dixie Bridge Road 2030. The next unpaved roads with the highest road count are LeGrand Road at 80 cars, Hilltop Road, Wheatland Road, and Turkey Road. Upon a motion of Mr. Brinkley, the committee voted unanimously to move Lambert Road, Wilson Newton Road, and Henrico Road from year 2029 on the current plan to be locally funded in years 26, 27, and 28. Dixie Bridge Road was moved from 2030 to year 2029. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to go ahead and put that in the form of motion.
Okay. Everyone's heard the motion. Any discussion on that, on the 6-year plan? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Upon a motion of Mr. Hargrove, the committee voted unanimously to recommend advertising a public hearing to be held on May 12, 2025 to consider adding Finneywood Road, Hilltop Road, the Grand Road, Wheatland Road, and Turkey Road to the 6-year plan. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pause for a second and also put that in the form of a motion.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Upon a motion of Mr. Brinkley, the committee voted unanimously to table the revenue sharing item until more information could be obtained. There was no further business. The meeting was adjourned.
Okay.
That's all.
That's all?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone have any discussion about the 6-year plan on the secondary roads? Okay. Budget and Finance, Mr. Hargrove.
Yes, sir. The Budget and Finance met on March 2nd, and I would like to turn this over to Mr. Alex for explanation. It's on discretion.
That's why I knew that one was going to be extended.
Yeah. Well, I thought you was going to do it.
I was. I'm lacking for words.
One on that sheet he got. From that short version.
Apparently.
Got a recipe for some cookies, I bet.
Thank you, Budget Chair Hargrove, for that. So today we have the public presentation of the recommended budget for fiscal year 25-26. Just go right into the timeline. The budget was initially posted on the county website on April the 3rd. An ad was run in the Mecklenburg Sun as authorized by the Budget and Finance Committee. That ran last Wednesday on April the 9th, and it's going to run again on April the 16th. Today's the public presentation of this budget. So to add some color and explanation on top of what was already written and posted and advertised. The public hearing will be on April the 24th, so that is on a Thursday. So this will provide ample opportunity for the public to have seen the advertisement, read the budget, and able to appear here with commentary and thoughts about that material. The Budget and Finance Committee will then vote on amendments to the budget on April 30th. The final budget will be released online on the 6th of May, or no later than the 6th of May, I really should say. And then we will vote on adoption the next week at our regularly scheduled board meeting of May the 12th. I would like to point out that this provides more time for review of the final budget than either the Virginia General Assembly allows its legislators or the U.S. House of Representatives provides for its members. So we are ahead of the game there. So let's talk about the budget. General fund resources to begin with. So when we do the budget, we start out with our amount from last year, carry that forward, and then begin making adjustments. And so our base amount last year was $88,680,542. We then go through and evaluate all the different revenue streams. You've got your what I call the major revenues. We do that in partnership with the Commissioner's Office, with the Treasurer's Office, to evaluate the conditions in Mecklenburg County since the previous land book had gone into effect. And then we go and look at all the other revenues, from ones that generate sizable amounts, like the sales tax, to ones that generate very negligible amounts, like, for instance, we get a law enforcement grant from the federal government for just over $3,000 every year. So it completely ranges the gamut of resource availability. The big news this year is that we've had an increase in the revenue made available to us from previously approved and existing real estate and business developments that are coming online in between those two land book points. This is not when I say new real estate, it means new real estate amounts on the slide, but what it is really coming from truly new real estate, improvements that have been made on real estate during the last year. This isn't forecast, this isn't a projection, this is truly based on what has occurred and materialized in our community over the preceding handful of months. So we do have a lot of solid development here in the county. And the same is true on the personal property front. This is a evaluation of what has happened, not what may happen. So no matter what occurs in going forward, we know that this is available to us because this has been placed into service. We do have this other thing, and I'll talk about this a little bit in the next slide, about revenue sharing. The revenue sharing is part of real estate and part of personal property, so when you look at actual revenue sources, it's included in there. But I did want to back that out from this slide to kind of show the true net increase in those real estate and personal properties that are available to us as a county government. And then we have several other big adjustments. Our sales tax number has exceeded what we have budgeted for several years in a row, so it is time to make an adjustment there to comport with the actual spending consumer practices. The interest rates have remained elevated from what we thought was going to happen, as the economy did fairly well across last year. There is certainly considerable uncertainty about what will occur with interest rates with the Federal Reserve and with the American economy in the next year. However, we do know that there is not a likelihood that the interest rates are going to get adjusted in the immediate meetings that the Federal Reserve will have. They may get adjusted down the road in 2025 and into 2026. We have built in a decrease of the interest from where we are actually going to accumulate through fiscal year 2025. So we have priced in some rate adjustments, but we really aren't sure what the Fed's going to do, and the Fed isn't sure what the Fed is going to do. And then our building permits also, the last 2 years, we've had really, really strong building permit revenues that have exceeded the amount that we have increased the projected FY26 to. Again, without a concrete knowledge of where the economy is headed, we did build in some lesser amounts than what we are actually experiencing in FY25. Nevertheless, we are. It's time to bring it up, and we've done a multi-year pattern of adjusting that to our new reality. All of this together brings us to a new base fiscal year 25-26 starting point of $107.5 million. We also have, in 2 slides from now, a series of tax policy adjustments that have been recommended for consideration. That would back out some of the revenue that's made available to us in this upcoming fiscal year if those tax adjustments are enacted. Accordingly, our starting point for fiscal year 25-26 is $106.1 million, which is a $17.5 million increase, or almost 20%. I mentioned that revenue sharing. So what the revenue sharing truly is it's, we just had an Economic Development Committee report that discussed the creation of a RIFA. That's kind of, these were the precursors to what RIFAs are now. We had partnerships with some of our towns and with other localities to develop industrial sites. By virtue of that, we spread the costs of the development of the site, but the trade-off to that was that those other entities are entitled to certain shares of the proceeds that come from the development that will materialize on those sites. So by contractual reasons, we have to take portions of the amounts that Lisa would estimate and distribute them to those partners. So we have to have that. It's a revenue that's in, it's an expenditure that's in, but it's not really funds that the board has the discretion to assign. And so backing them out gets to a better true metric of the allocations that the board has to be able to put places. And so when you take that out and take that 1.8 million out, it brings us down to $104 million, or $15.5 million able to assign to other purposes. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that this is actually a great thing, and it provides those other towns and those localities with dedicated revenue streams that they can then do whatever projects they deem necessary within their towns, so that provides for the ultimate benefit of the people of Mecklenburg County. And it also means so that it gives the towns another opportunity to have a viable resource recovery. So it's really a good thing. It's just something to note that we can't have the choice over where it goes. So what are those tax policy adjustments? I know everyone's really excited about these. So we have a series of items to help reduce the contribution that we ask citizens to make to Mecklenburg County. And we have several of them proposed for fiscal year 25 and 26. So the first one we have here is a proposal to eliminate the vehicle registration or decal fee. Once upon a time, this was a necessary item because it ensured that every vehicle in the county was properly registered, that they paid taxes, that they were truly able to be driven on the road. So it was an important check from us for a resource perspective. It was an important check for law enforcement to make sure that those were the roads that were supposed to be, those were the vehicles that were supposed to be driven on the roads. However, in the last few years, those functions have gone to DMV. DMV now does the registrations. DMV and the Virginia Department of Taxation provides us with abilities to ensure that the taxes are paid and collected. And so we no longer really need this from a functional perspective. And so it just has remained as a revenue source along the way. And so this year's budget proposes to eliminate that. We're not getting a service, or we're not providing a service out of this. The citizens aren't getting a service, and so we shouldn't be charging them for it. That would remove about $600,000 of revenue. It would also provide a savings to the taxpayer of $25 per vehicle. If the average household has 2 vehicles, that's a $50 savings. Some households have many more vehicles and would accrue certainly more savings from that. But that is a big sweeping initiative that provides a lot of savings and also a lot of impact. It touches a multitude of people here in Mecklenburg County. The second initiative we have is to terminate the electric consumer utility tax. There are 2 taxes that local governments in Virginia have on electricity. One is the consumer tax, one is the consumption tax. The consumer tax, the General Assembly saw fit to allow localities to have the choice over whether to impose them or not impose them. The consumption tax, the General Assembly decided otherwise, and it was a mandated tax that everyone has to charge. So we have the discretion on one, we do not have the discretion on the other. For the one we have the discretion over, that amounts to a maximum charge of $3 per month on every utility account that is registered here in Mecklenburg County. And so for the average consumer, they are going to hit that $3 maximum. There are some consumers that don't always hit that $3 amount, and I know that because there have been months where I have not hit that $3 amount when I have turned the air completely off because I like warm temperatures, as certain members of this board well know. So not everybody is going to save the $3 per month, but the super majority of the consumers would get to that level. It is important to note that this is a tax that the General Assembly allowed every locality, every political subdivision to choose to impose or not impose. And so we can only remove that tax on those accounts that we have control over, which means that people inside the towns are not going to be benefited from this change. It will be a benefit only for those in the county part of Mecklenburg County because the towns have their own decision-making authority to impose or not impose this particular tax. That's a contrast to the vehicle registration fee, wherein we collect it and impose it for everybody. The towns just share in some of that revenue. So we are holding the towns harmless on that first one, and everyone's benefiting. But the second one, we can only control those households that we have the authority to impose the tax over. So for many citizens of Mecklenburg County, they will save $36 per year from the elimination of this tax, but not every citizen will save that. The third initiative we have for you this year is to revert the personal property tax rate all the way back to the FY 2016-17 levels of $3.26. This is across the board on all forms of personal property that are not subject to a separate tax rate. So this will benefit your personal vehicles, it will benefit boats, it will benefit trailers, it will benefit business personal property. The amount for the individual vehicle is a 4-cent reduction because we took a step forward towards this last year, going to $3.30. This goes from $3.30 to $3.26, whereas the other property remained at $3.36. That's going to go down 10 cents from $3.36 to $3.26. So everything would be at $3.26 under this particular proposal. That tax increase that was made at that point in time was done to pay for the middle school and the high school complex. We can now comfortably assume the cost of the debt service, even though we have 10 to 20 years to run on the retirement of those debts within our general operating budget without the need for this additional tax revenue to be a dedicated pay for that particular project. So that is one of the benefits of our growth is we got this great new educational facility, and now we're going to be able to go back to the old tax rates and still be able to afford to have done that project. So that is fantastic news. It reflects very well on where this county is today. The last couple adjustments here are smaller amounts. One of them is a repeal of all license fees in the county. We generally do not charge a business personal licensing tax like many other localities do, but we had some old license fees that were still on the books. So we've scoured through the code of ordinances to lift those and be true to our word when we say we have no license fees here in the county. And then the last one is we're going to advertise now our high mileage vehicle policy. So that way, if you have a vehicle that has driven a tremendous amount of miles, which we would otherwise have no knowledge of, the valuation of that vehicle will be more appropriate for the use because you're going to have a greater depreciation because you've put so many miles on that vehicle. That was an item we had previously, but I don't think it was very well known. This will hopefully get people to be more aware of the fact that we have this policy. So if you drove 200,000 miles in the last 4 years, your vehicle is going to be worth less than something that was driven 40,000 miles in the last 4 years. And that's what it should be. We just would have no way of knowing unless you bring that information to us. And you wouldn't know that you could get eligible for a lower rate, a lower assessment rate there. I should say evaluation, not rate, unless we broadcast that. So we are going to do a better job of this. So this level of growth, why are we having this now? We are having this now because there is an abundance of development in this nation and across the globe in an industry that this board wisely chose to invest in over the past 15 years. This chart demonstrates the amount of data center construction that occurred in each individual month of a time series that began in 2014 and ends here in 2025, so pretty recent, for construction of data center facilities that are put into place in construction. That does not mean they're operational. That does not mean they're in service. This is literally construction. And the magnitude of the growth in this industry is just outstanding. It's just, we start off here on this chart in 2014, and you're looking at maybe $1 billion to $2 billion in a given month in construction values that are put into place, which is pretty healthy margins. Over the decade, it increases. Good growth by 2020, before the onset of the pandemic, it's up to about 10 billion. So, a tenfold increase in any given month in one particular industry and construction values over a 5 or 6 year period, pretty robust. But what's happened since the pandemic, and especially since the AI boom came 2 years ago, is that growth rate has just accelerated even more so. And so in the last 2 years, it is emblematic of this trend. We've almost doubled in 2 years in the amount of construction that has been put into service nationally in this one industry. And so in January 2025, we had almost $35 billion across the United States of America in construction, 1 month. The February numbers have come out since this chart was put together, and they were 2% higher than the January months. So is this going to continue forever? Probably not, or at least not at this growth rate. But the amount of development that is built out in people's CapEx budgets in their order books for the rest of 2025 is pretty substantial. And we'll see what happens. Obviously there's a big concern over the input materials here based on, national economic policies that may or may not be in place on any given day. However, there is substantial construction activity in this sector. And then once that construction activity is done, then those facilities get operated, and those facilities pay revenue to localities for the duration of their operating lifespans, which can be a considerable amount of time. So that is what's driving where we are in Mecklenburg County. We made good, solid, future investment decisions some time ago, and we are starting to really realize the material benefits of that decision making. So the board should be very proud of what it did over the last 15 years in order to put us in this state. We took a look and got on board with where a 21st century industry was going. And that has just been much better. We've been better off by investing in that 21st century industry than by trying to recreate and recapture industry from, the middle of the 20th century. So that was great. So where are we using those proceeds, the extra growth from the revenue, from the investment decisions? Well, here's where the budget is in summary. The number one purpose that we spend money on any given fiscal year is for public education. We are, from the general fund, we are using 31% for Mecklenburg County Public Schools operating budget, and another 10% of our total general fund resources are going towards paying for or upgrading school facilities. So 41% of our entire general fund dollar goes towards public education. It's a huge investment in our citizens and in our future existence as a county. Beyond that, we invest a lot in capital facilities, and we invest in, that's evidenced by the fact that we have the public safety building on here, by the county capital pay-go. And then we also have a lot of conservative budgeting practices, the Federal Government Reserve, which I'll discuss in a little bit. And of course, mentioned the revenue sharing earlier. So, but from an actual operating standpoint for a county and for a general fund perspective, it's only really public safety and then the landfill that, and when I say public safety, I'm including first responders in that as well, that really rises to the level of significant portions of our general fund budget. Most of our resources are not going to the 205 FTEs that we operate as a county general fund. So what are some of the new programs that we're proposing for inclusion in this year's recommended budget? Number one, we have a new model of fire service funding. The Fire Chiefs Association, the Emergency Services Department, and County Administration worked very well to come up with a new way of helping out our independent fire companies in this county in order to provide them with the ability to continue to operate. And so we have increased the total amount that is made available to the fire departments in any given year. It's an amount that is going to be determined based on a agreed fixed number rather than upon a old formulaic based model that simply redistributed our existing resources amongst one another on any given year. So this is actually going to provide net additional benefits, and with the goal of extending the life of the fire departments for as long as they can provide quality service. That is our goal in Mecklenburg County. We want the fire departments to continue to survive, period. The next major initiative that we have is to advance the secondary roads, the unpaved road and program. We heard quite a bit about that in a report that was also read earlier. Thank you for that. And so what you heard in there was you heard the term locally funded roads, and you heard 3 roads that were proposed to be advanced in the paving schedule because they were locally funded. And that is happening because of this initiative. So we are trying our best to get people off of that, what was, long time ago thought of as the 30-year plan, jokingly referred to as, maybe not a joke, but and we're trying to get it done. We're trying to get it done within the operational constraints that VDOT has for the ability to lay pavement in any given year. Another initiative that we have heard quite a bit from in the community is our cost of housing and the lack of housing and the need for additional housing and residential construction development. And that is definitely the case. Now, of course, that is something that pretty much the entire United States of America faces. However, it is time for us to try to spur that on as best as we can. We have limited avenues historically for providing benefits for residential development. We do not operate utility systems, so we cannot provide rebates or incentives for hookup connection, fee waivers, and other benefits along those lines. We do not operate the roads ourselves, so we don't have a public works department that can work with developers to help facilitate road construction. And so to me, the next best initiative would be to help those developers, to spur them along, to incentivize them, to try to get them to develop residential subdivisions in Mecklenburg County. And of course, based on the comprehensive plan that we adopted, our targeted goal is to have them go in and around our towns, especially in that kind of ring development around a town where they can be easily served by utilities without having to sprawl across the county and without having to cause for the destruction and the removal of farmland and agriculture lands, as you see in many other communities that are developing, that are growing, that I personally have experienced in other places that I have lived, and I want to avoid that as best as possible. So this initiative would help the developers with costs that would otherwise be not the benefit to the housing itself, not part of the cost of the housing itself, but have to be put into the cost of housing in order to make the numbers work. And so those are things like the connections to the utility to run in the neighborhood. Those are things like getting the roads to VDOT standards. Those are things like sidewalks. We're going to pilot this with a small amount to begin with, see if it has, causes any additional growth, any additional interest in building in this county, and hopefully it does. If it doesn't, we'll revisit it and remove it in the future, but I'm optimistic, and we're going to continue to build out this program as we get further along with our zoning ordinance revision. But I know that's been something that a lot of people here in Mecklenburg County have talked about, is the cost of housing. Another initiative we have, this is designed to be, conservative budgeting practice, to be prudent, because we really don't know where things are going right now. And so we have put together a federal government reserve. This is put aside funds in case the federal government continues to end federal spending programs without us having to reduce the service delivery, whether it's at the public education level, whether it's at the social service level. And so we have up to 50% of the funds that we receive from the federal government in any given year set aside to make up the difference in FY25 and 26. If those are not needed, they will go and be programmed to the fund balance of the general fund to enhance our percentage rate there. One thing I do want to note is that the BLS estimates that there's about 119 federal government direct jobs here in Mecklenburg County, which is about 1% of the total county employment. About half of those are the Postal Service, and then a considerable amount of the rest of them are going to be U.S. Army Corps of Engineer related jobs. So we do have some exposure to direct federal jobs and spending. Obviously, they have a lot of land, as you heard from the presentation earlier this morning, and a lot of facilities here in this county. But I think we are well positioned to handle any changes that may be wrought on a very quick turnaround basis in the upcoming year. Capital. In terms of capital projects, just a quick update on the projects that are in place right now. We're continuing the baseline appropriations for both the new school construction and the public safety building. We are headed right into La Crosse. heading into Chase City this summer, and then that will allow us to start diverting our savings to La Crosse from Chase City, because Chase City will be hopefully fully funded in the next year or so. So we are moving right ahead with those new elementary schools, and by the 2030, 31-ish period, we should have completely new elementary schools here in Mecklenburg County, all of them built in the 21st century. Just an amazing thing. Public safety building, that will be for bid in the winter time period, and so we will know the actual construction costs and any impacts from changing construction material costs by the 27 budget, so we will incorporate it into the budget then. We've also provided funds for the development of additional convenience center sites. To build out the full menu, though, we still need property. So if people want these sites in their communities, then we need your help. We need suitable and adequate sites in several areas of the county yet in order to facilitate those convenience centers. And then the last thing, our ambulance refurbishment, we actually got good news there. The production schedule was better than we anticipated, and we will get them on board by the end of the year rather than into FY27. So what are some new CIP projects? We're proposing first, the overhaul of the Clarksville Rescue Station. That is still a project that's in progress from a scope development perspective. It could be upgrades at the current site, or we could move to the Clarksville Fire Station and build out additional bunk rooms and other facilities that might be needed at that site and cohabitate the two services. The big need there is the fact that 24/7, 365 operations, they need facilities that volunteers did not necessarily need because the volunteers were not always housed at the site. They were responding from private homes, private businesses. So we need better food facilities. We need better changing facilities. We need better sleeping quarters. Those are all needs when you have a full-time paid service. Some other items that we have in this year's budget, repair of the landfill machine shop. We're going to acquire new voting machines. The electoral board has deemed it necessary that we have a new voting system to replace the 10-year-old machine before the 2028 presidential election. And so we would like to get those in service so that people are accustomed to using those machines by the time they show up for a very heavily trafficked election, such as 2028 would be. So getting those machines on board for 2026 for primaries and general elections when it's a little bit of less voter demand on them to get people comfortable. We're having portable communication replacements for first responders and law enforcement, and then we're going to replace the board and elevator, which is of considerable age and is necessary to remove it entirely at this point and build a new one to allow for second-story access at that particular county facility. So what are our new external major CIP programs? We are going to help for the first time ever with a fire apparatus replacement fund. The cost of fire vehicles has gone up sizably in recent years. There was a report that was issued by the Virginia Department of Fire Programs a year ago that had the estimated average fire vehicle at about $1.2, $1.3 million. So we recognize that independent companies that are reliant on local fundraising are not always in the best position to handle a multi-million-dollar vehicle replacement. And so we're here to try to facilitate that and help out. We are going to set aside $1 million per year to help all of the vehicles be replaced over a 20-year period. At a minimum, every department will get a new vehicle every 8 years. The fire chiefs themselves will determine who's next up in line to get that vehicle, but we are going to contribute $1 million towards that. If the vehicle is above $1 million, then the department themselves will be responsible, and the department themselves will be the ones who are still speccing it out and getting the vehicle that is most appropriate for their local community. We're not going to dictate that, but we will provide up to $1 million to help out with the acquisition of those vehicles. The reason it's down the road a little bit is because there's a lag time, just like we saw with that ambulance purchase, for when a vehicle is ordered that can get into production, that can get delivered. So if we approve the program now, we can start making the orders for these vehicles, or I should really say the departments themselves can make the orders, knowing that our funds will be available by the time that the vehicles come in and we make payment on those apparatuses. So where are we at overall? So the fiscal year 25-26 budget, the total gross budget is $261.4 million. In order to prevent double counting, you take out the transfers to get to what the total net budget is, which is a true measure of how much funds are actually being spent. And so the net revenue this year is $195 billion for fiscal year 25-26. The general fund constitutes about 55% of that total. To find out more, as I mentioned at the beginning, the budget has been posted online. It's on the county news on the front page. You can go there and click in and get to the PDF, or you can go to the PDF directly. So there's several different ways of finding it. You can type in budget in the search bar. It will take you there. So it's available. It's out there for the public. And we look forward to seeing everybody at the public hearing on April the 24th, next Thursday. Or at any time, if somebody wants to submit comments, I will take the comments and report on them. So that is where our budget is at, and that's all I have for that particular item.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. If you want me to repeat that, just let me know.
But we'll pass on that.
Yeah. And that was the
Is that all you have?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, what time is the public hearing?
It is at 7 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
Yep.
Okay.
And that will be in this room. The Planning Commission is meeting that same night, and the Planning Commission will be at the school board office. Is that correct? Yes, they'll be at the school board office, at the Board of Education's meeting room.
How are you going to do both?
Where do I need to be?
You need to be at the Planning Commission.
I had a feeling you would say
It's
that.
like other public hearings, it's going to last all of 3 minutes.
There's no action that this board will take at that night. The Planning Commission will take action on matters, so I would definitely advise your presence there.
Thank you, sir. All right, Alex, you
Okay.
back up again.
I am. So the next item we have, we need your approval for a resolution to support a particular grant that we have submitted to the Tobacco Commission. We were approached by several parties, including Virginia Cooperative Extension, the Virginia Farm Bureau, and others, about submitting an application for a pilot program to provide migrant housing for our agriculture community. This program would work whereby the farmer would build the facilities, and then they would get reimbursement from this Tobacco Commission program should it be approved by the Tobacco Commission. They needed a local government applicant, and we agreed to serve in that role. I should note that we are the fiscal agent, and that is all our responsibility is for this particular initiative. We will not be evaluating the construction. We will not be monitoring the crop production or any of those things. Both the Cooperative Extension and the Farm Bureau have agreed to serve all of those functions. So our role in this is really administrative only. Nevertheless, as the applicant, the Board of Supervisors has to officially enact a resolution that can go before the Tobacco Commission for their consideration for the creation and support of this program.
All right, so we need to entertain a motion for that.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay. The third item we have here is the Clerk of the Circuit Court Records Grant. So there is a $5 fee that is imposed on all civil actions that are filed in the court system, and that goes to what is called the Technology Trust Fund. This is held by the comp board and then distributed out on a kind of a application basis. We are eligible and did receive funds from this pursuant to the resolution that was adopted in 1993, and that is part of the rules of order for this board. How these are supposed to be handled is that they are read at a board meeting, referred to the Budget and Finance Committee. The Budget and Finance Committee makes a recommendation, then it comes back to this board for action. So that is the procedure that we may not have been following for all of those years since 1993, but I'm going to try to do here. By reading it at this meeting, we can refer it to the April 30th Budget and Finance Committee meeting. So after we make the amendments to the budget for the next fiscal year, we can knock this out and then have it for the board's adoption in May. That resolution may get rewritten before next year, but in the interim, it is on the books, and so we will try to follow that. So this is the...
So it's just information.
I think you technically have to do an action to refer it to Budget and Finance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, the motion's been made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
One of the items I mentioned during the budget presentation regarding our capital expenditures is the Chase City Elementary School. That project is going to begin construction this summer and be in service in the not too distant future. There's still in place the Virginia School Construction Assistance Program. That has an $80 million appropriation from the Commonwealth of Virginia for fiscal year 24-25, the current one we're in. That might actually increase because there was a budget amendment in the budget that has not been formally signed yet to increase that amount. Nevertheless, the Virginia Department of Education has opened the application window for the School Construction Assistance Program for this current fiscal year. What we need is a resolution and a letter that is signed by the chair to submit in order to get points towards our score in the application process. You're only eligible for the grant award if you score over 65 points. So we need every single point we can potentially get. And so we need to do this resolution. We did the same thing when we applied for Clarksville and successfully got it. With the resolution, it was very specifically worded for Clarksville, so we need to adopt a very similar but resolution just that is worded for Chase City. And so we'll need that at this point in time. The application window, as I mentioned, is open and closes towards the end of this week. So time is definitely of the essence for this one. And hopefully we are successful with the SCAP for Chase City as we were with Clarksville, and that would really be a wonderful thing should that materialize. So we need this resolution, and we'll need you, Mr. Chair, to sign the accompanying letter so that the superintendent can upload those into the grant application portal.
Okay. So we need a motion to
Adopt the resolution. Yep.
Mr. Chair, so moved.
Motion's been made. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries.
All right. And last item we have our customary staff reports. I did want to flag one new item that is in there in this particular packet. We have been contacted by the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services about where their spongy moth treatments are going to be for this year. And so that map is going to be or is in your packet, and the area that they are proposing to work on this particular year is very, very barely in Mecklenburg County. It is on the Halifax County side, kind of around where the state park in Halifax is, that covers the Roanoke River in that particular area. It's barely in Mecklenburg, but it is in Mecklenburg, so just FYI, that is going to be happening here in 2025. That's their treatment area for the year. And with that, I have probably spoken quite a bit and enough for this meeting.
That's okay. That's your job. All right, Chairman's report. We've got an appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. I think y'all saw a bio of a young man that we're going to appoint, and John Davis, I believe. So I'll entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Davis to the Board of Zoning Appeals.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve a consent calendar.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries. Okay, board member comments. We're here. So, Spence, you want to go?
Sure. I want to thank Mr. John Evans for his service. I think he provides a great example for us all. What a great example that I'm sure some of the things that we covered were just probably a few. I'm sure he probably did a lot of other things, but what a great guy. I also want to thank Tina Morgan for the work that they're doing with tourism. I'm sure that the presentation, it's a great presentation, and I'm sure, again, it probably just highlights some of the stuff that you guys are doing. So I'm sure the rest of it was very labor intensive. So thank you for you and your team for what you're doing. Thank Kevin Smith as well. VDOT, they're great about addressing our concerns in a timely manner, so appreciate them. And I also want to, again, I always try to make mention, we thank the public for coming forward, bringing concerns to us, because very often without them addressing concerns, we very often may not know what's happening in the county. So thank them. That's it.
Okay. Mr. Grab.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple things. I want to just let everybody know that I know a month or so ago I had mentioned the Verizon cell phone towers in the county. I reached out to the contact for Verizon and have not heard anything. It's kind of been quiet with the cell phone towers going up in the county. I feel like some constituents are asking questions. You hear these rumors, they'll get started, they're on, they're off, they only point in one direction, we don't know, I don't know. So I feel like we need somebody to address these questions, and so we can kind of divulge that information to the constituents, and I just don't really know what to do at this point. I'll take recommendations from anybody, what we need to do to get somebody from Verizon down here to address these issues. And then they're constantly building new ones in the county as well. So it's something we need to address. Another thing that I would want to talk about with everybody is line items on personal property taxes. If we have an item, I think the general consensus is when we bill for personal property, it's more like a blanket on the half for every billing cycle. It's like a half. So if you own an item on your personal property taxes, whether you total loss that item or sell it, you're still billed for the rest of the half, even though you don't have possession of it any longer. And I feel like, is this something that we maybe can move more or less to a prorated approach for instance, you know, if I have a vehicle and I total lost it on January the 10th, I mean, I feel like I shouldn't have to pay personal property taxes on it all the way to the end of the half. Because some of these, you know, light items, you know, they're $100,000 light item. You know, and I, you know, if I have to, you know, so that was one thing, a question I had to ask.
I mean, they're all localities across the state that do survey. I mean, up to y'all's decision on whether to go that way or not. So, that's just,
I mean, and I kind of open it up to anybody, you know, to talk about that.
I think it's a wonderful idea.
Is there an ability to make a distinction between something that, as he's suggesting, the property is lost versus
if
what?
it's total loss, then that would have to, you know, the taxpayer would have to notify us.
Right,
Now, of course, you have vehicles for sale and come into the county daily. So
Right.
when you look at proration,
Well, in my opinion, if it was vehicles that were sold, I guess the best thing to do is when it's registered with the DMV, that would be probably the logical date to go by, not when I sold it.
but I'm just saying, there are thousands and thousands. We do a monthly download for the DMV, and you'd be surprised how many vehicles that change monthly. I'm saying, I'm talking thousands. So you're looking at, if somebody sells that vehicle, that's 1,000 proration. Abatements, we're gonna have to do it a month.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, if we go that approach, anybody who moves to Mecklenburg County during a given year, we would then have to, or brings in a new vehicle, we would start having to tax those as well.
We would tax those as well,
Yeah.
unless they're coming from a non-prorating locality. So it's a lot.
It's not going to be a net benefit to every taxpayer if you choose to do that, is what I'm trying to.
Well, is it a way that we can look at, you know, just take a look at it potentially to see what's the best way to do it? Because I mean, I get that, but on the flip side, I feel like if I don't,
I mean, if you sell that vehicle in August and you buy a new one, we're gonna pick you up for the new one. So you're gonna give a supplemental bill for the new one, and then you're gonna get abated on the old one. So I mean, so where if you buy a vehicle July the 2nd, you're not gonna pay on that vehicle for the whole year until the following July. So it's almost a wash. Most of the time, if somebody sells a vehicle, you go get a new one.
Yeah.
By the time to buy a vehicle is first week in July,
Yeah. Stay for the first year.
or either the first week in January or last week in December, whichever one it is.
So in your opinion, there's no need to make any improvement, I mean, anything to that?
I mean, I don't know that it's pretty much a wash. By the time, everybody can sell it, you're gonna buy one. So you're gonna abate one, then you're gonna have a brand new vehicle, you're gonna potentially pay more taxes on, because we're gonna supplement you for the year. Not only are you gonna pay that tax to the DMV, the state, then you're gonna turn around and pay it to the county within that year. Now, got a new vehicle within this year after July 1, you're not gonna pay it to the county until the following year.
Right.
So you're being double taxed in that sense.
What happens if we don't buy any vehicles?
You don't pay no tax?
And what happens if we ain't buying and we doing a bunch of losing?
You turn in all your high mileage to them and they'll give you a reduction.
That's another thing. Did we find out the mileage on what the actual high mileage parameters were to get the high mileage, I guess, discount? How many miles do we need to put on, or does a vehicle need to have?
There's a schedule that's distributed by J.D. Power.
How do y'all police that? How do you police that?
It would have to be up to the taxpayer to notify us. We are paying.
How do y'all
I know, how
verify
do you verify it?
It will be on the back of everybody's personal property tax bill.
No, they're talking about the actual mileage.
Yeah, how do you,
Verify
you know, if I
mileage.
come in and say, oh, I got 300 miles, 300,
Your inspection stuff.
okay.
Gauge your mileage on.
You got to show that.
Show the inspection for that year.
I got you.
Thank you.
You good?
That's it. That's all I had to say.
I thought you've been listening to Alex.
All right, Ms. London?
You
You
know
didn't
what?
take it all, Miss Lundy, so you don't
Last
say
time, he looked at my paper. This time,
you didn't take all your talking points.
okay.
Well, you
I
better
would
be
like
glad
to
you're not
listen.
sitting beside David anymore.
I would like to
Oh,
salute
brother, too.
Mr. Evans also for his service to the country and to the county and to the town of South Hill. He was one of my first bankers, And his wife also used to work with me at South Hill Elementary School. She was a very lovely person, and I also taught their son. I also like to thank Tina for keeping us abreast of what's happening in tourism world, and also the revenue that she's helped to generate for this county. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Wilkes.
Okay, as figured, you know, I'm taking most of what I would say, but also, I just want to hit on Mr. Evans. I've known him for quite a while, and he is just a stand-up guy. You know, I think we hit a few of the highlights of his life, because you could go on all day about what he's done. You know, say that name around his area, our area, you know, everybody has
Well,
a
I
lot.
got you to read it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that. Has a lot to say. You know, good things to say about him. And then for Tina, you know, she gives these reports, and every year the numbers continue to improve. That's hard to do over a long period of time. You know, you usually have ebbs and flows, ups and downs, but been very consistent, and I just want to thank you for that, because that's a huge part of our county. You know, and the last thing, I just, you know, Easter is this coming Sunday. Just want everyone, you know, remember the reason for the season. You know, the good Lord gave us the ultimate sacrifice for dying for our sins, and that should absolutely be recognized and appreciated to no end. So that's all I had.
Thank you. Mr. Tim.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, Alex, Judy, all y'all staff, thank you for the hard work on the budget. And thank you for keeping this one shorter than you did with the other one. I really appreciate that part. But I know it's been a lot of work for y'all working on this, but I know this budget makes big investments in our fire service, in our volunteers, and it also makes a huge investment in our workforce here at the county, the sheriff's department, you know, just across the board. It looks out for our number one asset, which is our people. Because without the people, we can't do anything that we do up here. Because they would definitely all be calling us saying they're not getting the services that they would expect. And like I said, because of the growth we're having in this county, we're still able to reduce the tax burden some on the citizens. We're still able to build new schools and convenience centers and everything else. So I think we're definitely truly blessed. And also, Mr. Evans, I mean, as you said, he's been a fixture in the community for years, and to serve our country, be there when the bank was shot up years ago, which was before my time. But just to serve the citizens of this county for over 40 years is just impressive. And always the tourism numbers, they always continue to grow, and it shows that assets that we have here in the county. I mean, we're probably the only county in the state that has two lakes that we're able to draw from. And as you said, people flock to the lakes during the summer, and we're just blessed to have that. And also, I'd like to thank the Sheriff's Office for inviting us to their dinner the other night. I think it is so important for them to know, and the deputies and everybody that works for your department to know that we appreciate it. And I think that's an excellent way to do it, because they need our praise every day. And that's all I have.
Okay. Mr. Franklin.
Well, like ditto everything everybody said and all. Question a few people asked me about the recycling that we are doing. Are we shipping that once that is separated, put in those bins, or is it being sent off somewhere else?
It's not separated, it's commingled, so it all goes into that same roll-off, and it goes to Brookneal,
Goes somewhere else, huh?
to the facility where they're sorted.
Okay. And I know a lot of, well, you didn't hear the presentation that we got to hear a little bit at the Planning Commission. Of course, we didn't hear it all at the plan, but I'd like to thank Mr. and Ms. Dudley here for what y'all are doing with the waste and stuff that's coming out of Microsoft and what you're doing. They had a nice presentation ready. We need to do something with our buttons and something here, because we have had this problem being able to see something on several occasions at the planning. So, would you agree, Robert, that I don't know whether we just a different group. We don't have a lot of technology here that we done. Most of us won't touch it, and to be safe. But we need to look at that. Something's going on there a little bit. I don't think we didn't get to see. The other thing's kind of a little heavy on my heart is and something that I'll read here, something that I would like for the board to ponder a little bit on till the next meeting in May. As most of you probably have heard, at the Planning Commission last month, we voted they voted 7-5 for a special exempt permit for Seven Bridges Farm. Since then, my phone has been ringing off the hook, people around there. I think it's a little confusion. They hear that we put a limit on it. They thought it was over with, and this particular one has been going on for a long time. So, but the upset is still coming into the backyard. And right now in our area, we have 3 solar projects that are already in our area in the county. One that's not fully completed, but the other 2 still to this day are not working correctly. And all. So now we have one that maybe even 2 with the Finneywood project that may be coming to our same area. And I think we'll vote on this next month. And my question to each of you, would your constituents be happy with you if there were possibly 3 solar projects come to your area that you voted for? I would say that would probably be a big no. And I just ask all of you, I'm not going to tell you how to vote or nothing like that. I'll try to pray. But I'm just saying, between now and May, do the research on these projects, how efficient they are, just, the problems they're having with them and stuff. I just say, do a little research on between now and the next month and take a look at it. But we pretty well loaded up in our area where we are already, and they're not very efficient. So, Mr. Chairman, that's all I got.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frank. Mr. Hargrove?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I sympathize with the lady that came today, Ms. Arlene Logan. And I sense that she would like for the county to do more for its senior citizens. But I think most of the people that within this county doesn't realize that just because you see large numbers coming to the county, don't mean that we are harboring that type of money. For every time that dollar comes in, we have to send out 95 cents of it to expenditures. And I think once they understand, and I understand that the cost of living has blown out of proportion, and that affects everybody, even the working person. But it more so affects those that are retired and on a fixed income. But I thought one year that I saw when we was doing voting that it was on the docket about veterans paying X amount of taxes on their properties and stuff to that nature. Is that still effective? Yes. Is that effective for the spouses of the veterans?
Yes.
Okay, so is there any way possible that I can have something that I can just mail to her so that maybe that may help her?
You have to qualify. You have to be 100% totally and permanently disabled.
Okay.
To qualify.
Okay.
You paid, or either be paid at 100% rate due to being unemployed.
Okay.
That's your qualification.
Okay.
It's 1 acre of land, primary residence, and
Okay.
any outbuildings.
Okay. Well, and if I could just, if I could get that sent to her, I have the address here, so that she will understand that she has the opportunity if she's completely disabled or that can't afford it. So this
That's for veterans only.
Right, and she's it includes the wife of a veteran. See, her husband was a veteran, but he died.
When did he? Well, it took effect July 1, 2011, so it depends on.
Okay. Well, if that information could be mailed to her, at least let her know that we're trying to do something. And I know, and I understand her situation. Miss Tina, thank you so much for your hard work. Just as soon as I can purchase my county sticker this December, I'm gonna take you out to dinner. All right. And thank you so much. Mr. Evans, thank him for his service. As everybody else has said, Ms. Gacha, thank you for speaking for me, because I was like a deer in headlights. Thank you so much for that. And Mr. Gravett, and I apologize to you about Overlook Road, because when you came here, you were very vibrant, very young, youthful looking. And now I see gray in your beard. And I see a few spots missing in your head. Please forgive me for that stress that I've impeded upon you, sir. I sure appreciate that. All right, thank you so very much. And that'll be all, Mr. Chairman, I have to say.
I always look forward to what you have to say. Can I say one thing? Mr. Hargrove, I would not call that lady. She delivered yours, and you better deliver hers.
I should do that.
All right, very good. I completely agree with everything everybody said. There's no need repeating it. Y'all articulated it very well. But the only one thing I'd like to bring up, I know I had talked to Mr. Town, I talked to him a lot, but with the convenience centers that we're trying to get in place and everything, and I'm really concerned that garbage could possibly end up in the wrong places when they don't have real convenient, close dumpster sites to go to. And we had talked about, and I'm not talking about you can go throw anything in the world you want to in these sites, but we probably need to maybe have a conversation about relaxing some of the things you can actually put in the sites, in the convenience center sites. You know, if somebody's, you know, redoing a door frame in their house and they've got, you know, 4 pieces of wood, 3 foot long, you know, they got to do something with it or throw it away somewhere, that kind of thing. So maybe in the future we can just talk about it. Like I said, I'm not saying you just, you know, bring 8 mattresses and 3 sofas and throw them in there, but you know, we need to kind of talk about that. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. Glad the budget's coming along and get that passed here in May, and then everybody can relax till next budget season. So, happy Easter to everyone, and I hope everybody has a good holiday. And that's all I have. So.
Before you hit the gavel, tell them don't get 1 o'clock and don't go home.
Yeah, well, we're going to end this meeting right here. Bam, we ended it right there.
Yeah, that's about the section.
Yeah.
No